Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, today's guest is the fantastic Nancy Ann Ridder. Nancy, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing really well. I'm so excited to be with you. And I'm here in Virginia. And are you in London?
I am in North London, yes.
In North London. So just the magic of technology.
It's fantastic. It's been great over the last, I think that's the pandemic situation has been awful, obviously, over the last few years, but something that's really kind of a shining light out of it has been the ability to talk to people from all over the world online now. So it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I've been able to I did a Scream interview with a podcast guy in Hawaii, Ireland. I have another one in London and then around the United States. But it's been, I get goosebumpy with the ability, the ability to be able to talk to you all from wherever you guys are around the world.
It is amazing, and it's such a pleasure to have people like yourself on the show. It's coming from a movie that has inspired, in my opinion, a lot of the modern day slasher horrors. What was it like working on Scream?
Well, it was just thrilling. And I don't know how many people listen to all these different interviews, but I do have a great little story of how I got, not how many listen to you, but I get worried that I'm telling the same stuff. But I have my most exciting story is how I got the part. Do you want to know that?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yeah.
And in a short answer to your question, yes, doing Scream, being a part, even a tiny part like the girl in bathroom, it was so exciting. It was my first big movie. I grew up, came from the professional theater world since I was 9 years old. So I did go to a performing arts high school in Washington, D.C. And the only on-camera experience I had were these little industrial films for the Department of Labor when I was like 16. So Scream was my first time to be on a movie set. So I was very nervous, of course, because theater, I understood that whole environment. So film, what's being asked of an actor was completely new to me. But it was, I remember reading, the script was so exciting, and I wish I could have, all my stuff is in storage. I wish I could show the script just on camera, because the original title, as I know you all know, was A Scary Movie. And the way, probably one of the most exciting things for me is how it happened. Right at the beginning of '96, my classmate and friend from Northwestern University, just outside Chicago, she was Wes Craven's assistant at the time, and her name is Julie Plec, Plec, and she went on to become a producer of the subsequent Scream 2, 3, and 4, and she's now a huge TV creator, showrunner, executive producer. She has a new project coming out with Kevin Williamson, the screenwriter of Scream, and it's a good title. It has the word dead in it, and I can't remember what the second word is, but I'll find that out. But she called me randomly, like on a Tuesday, and she goes, "Nancy Ann, how tall are you?" And I said, "I'm 5'7". And she said, "That's perfect." She said Wes would be screen testing 5 actresses for the lead role of Sydney, and that the average height of the 5 actresses that were being brought in was 5'7". So she said, "It'll be great. You'll be the female stand-in. They'll have a male stand-in for Skeet." And Julie was like, "And we'll pay you $75." And I was like, yes, because I think I was still 22. I was still 22 at the time, because I moved straight to LA. But yes, I was like, $75. So they had it on that Saturday, and I went. It was somewhere in the valley, if I remember. All of this is if I remember correctly, because it's been 25 years. But I think it was in a big warehouse space. And the first half of the day, like, Wes was there, 2 of his producers, Kathy Conrad, his producing partner, Marianne Madalena, Lisa Beach, the casting director. And so I chose, since they didn't really need me the first half of the day, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't in the way. And so I stood behind Wes Craven I mean, not right behind it, but can you imagine like blowing on him? Hi. But he had a good view of his monitor and then the two scenes beyond the monitor. And the two scenes that the actresses were being asked to do was the first scene where Skeet crawls in through the Nev Campbell's window, that bedroom scene with the little top of the nightgown action. And then the second scene was the scene where the killer calls Nev Campbell for the first time.
Yeah.
So it was fun watching. They had 5 actresses. So about the first 3 went, and they were all different actresses from movie, TV. And Nev was one of the 3. And she actually was so sweet. Wasn't looking for anyone to talk to me, but she had a little bit of waiting time. And I don't even remember what she said to me, but she was just really sweet, down to earth. And each actress they were staggered so that they didn't know who else was auditioning. And then halfway through the day, Wes turned around to me, and because I literally was, just kind of made myself invisible, not literally invisible, but just staying out of the way. But so he turned around to me and he goes, "Do you know the lines to the scenes?" And I said, "Yes," because I'd already seen a couple of the actresses go. And he gave me a little script just of the scene itself. And he went to check on one of the actresses. And when he came back in, he wanted me to do Sydney role and then the male stand-in do Skeet so that he could tweak the lighting and the camera. And he wanted us to do the scene. So of course, since I'm an actor, I thought, oh, what would be my little, if I were auditioning for Sydney today, what would be my little take? And I always tell this because I think it's a cute story, but well, I hope you find it cute. The time Kevin Williamson's, it was fun to see what got changed from the original script, dialogue wise, to what made it into the final film. I don't know if you remember, there's a line with Skeet where a line with Nev where she goes, "You thought you could crawl through my window and we'd have a little raw footage." Yeah. So the line at the time, which I thought was so funny and seeing the different actresses do it. So the line was, "So you thought you could sneak in my window and we'd have a little bump, like hump, but the word bump." So bump hyphen bump. And so I that was kind of the line that stood out to me. So I wanted to have my fun with it. So we did, I can't remember I actually think what I remember reading from the script, all of it would be fun to go back and look, but I feel like everything that was on the page was in the final product, but I remember that specific line. So we did that scene, and surprisingly, I didn't have time to be nervous because it happened so quickly, thank goodness. And then the next scene was the killer phone call scene to Nev, and I did that. And then Wes Craven beelined up to me and he shook my hand and he said, "That was excellent." And he left the space just to go get the next actress. And as he left, he goes, "Have her read for one of the bathroom girls." So at that point, Lisa Beach, the casting director, who's an amazing casting director, she came running up and she said, "Once we finish casting the lead roles," she said, "then we'll start bringing in the smaller actors for the smaller parts." And it was cool because once Wes Craven kind of put his stamp of approval on me, then I was visible, like, to the producers and Lisa. So it was nice to feel just in a little way like visible and seen. And so then I originally read for the cheerleader. I was terrible. Leonora, who plays the cheerleader, is perfect. When I went into the audition, it was Lisa, casting director. Usually when you first audition, it's just the casting director. And then if they like you, they'll start bringing you back to the producers and the director. But this first audition, Wes was there, two of the producers. And even though I knew all of them, I went in and shook all their hands. And I didn't have a cheerleading outfit, so I just wore a little black mini skirt and a little baby doll t-shirt that said "Girls Rule." But when I went to shake Wes's hand, he started bowing to me. And I thought, what have I done to this man to deserve this lovely attention? It didn't occur to me that probably he was bowing because of the Girls Rule t-shirt. But I brought in so many makeup props. I mean, literally the worst audition I'd ever given. I was so embarrassed. So then I left, but Lisa called, the casting director, and she said, and again, this is what I remember. She said, we definitely want you to be in the film. Wes wants you to be in the film. She said, we might put you in the big party scene at the end. I don't know if you remember, there are two girls who are kind of fangirls of Courtney Cox. One's a blonde girl, and one's got curly black hair. So I knew I was going to be in the movie, which I was thrilled. And it may have been one of those two parts. And then maybe a couple weeks went by and the assistant director called again, like on a Tuesday. And he said, Wes moved up the shooting schedule of the bathroom scene, and we want to know if you'll play the girl in the bathroom. And I was like, let me check my schedule. And I was like, yes. And so that happened so fast as well. The assistant director said, great, I'm going to book you a ticket. You're going to be on the plane. So this was Tuesday, the phone call. You'll be on a plane Wednesday out of Burbank Airport into Oakland. And then you'll be there. You'll arrive Wednesday, Thursday, and then you'll be on the set that Friday. And it's so super fast. And I always laugh and say, the girl, I'd only invested myself in the cheerleader in the bathroom. So I had to really create a life for the girl in the bathroom. I'm totally joking. But Lisa Beach was on the plane, and the assistant director said, I would have sat you next to Lisa Beach, but she's terrified of flying. And they were like, we don't know if she's going to scream the whole way. I'm exaggerating, but so she was really fun. Once we got to Oakland, the van driver picked us up and she pulled out a little flask of whiskey and she was like, do you want any? I was like, sure. And we drove up to they drove us up to beautiful Santa Rosa in the Sonoma wine country. And we were in the DoubleTree Inn. And what I thought was kind of cute was, rather than one main building, there were all these different little wings of buildings on their own, and called the Cabernet building or the Burgundy building. So we were always like, which building are you in, of the crew and the cast. And then Lisa, she came to my hotel room. She's like, let's go to happy hour at the lounge. And it was so cool that Lisa, this big time casting director, was just so nice. And she went and got Leonora as well. And then when we finished hanging out, we went into the cheerleaders. We each had our own room, but we went into the cheerleaders hotel room, and we used, Leonora and I, we used the bathtub as the two particular bathroom stalls, and then coming out of the bathtub just to rehearse the scene a few times. And Leonora, she made me feel as comfortable as I could, because Leonora grew up in the Pacific Palisades. Her mom is a movie actress. Her grandma was a movie actress. So she grew up, Leonora had already done some movies before Scream, but she just was so down to earth and welcoming. So then when we were on the set the next day, she had me come, we had our own little trailers. She had a ginormous trailer. So she had me come. I had a little, whatever, it's like a little walk-up place with the toilet and a counter. So when she saw that, she was like, come hang out with me in the trailer. And we got to spend time together. And then they had just finished shooting Henry Winkler, the principal death scene, where he gets stabbed. And I remember, of course, I loved Happy Days, Fonzie, and seeing him growing up. So when I first saw him, he had on this principal business shirt with all bloody. And I was like, nice shirt. And and then I was like, oh God, why did I just say that? And then he stayed and had lunch with us. And I didn't know this at the time, but since seeing on Google and fans asking questions, his little principal office was in the same warehouse space. But because when we finished lunch and we went to sit in the director's chairs right outside the bathroom, the lights were all in the bathroom, so I couldn't see what other sets were there, if the locker room scenes were also there. And then the bathroom, if I remember, So Henry Winkler's office, I feel like, was a three-walled set. For some reason, again, I could be totally wrong. It felt like the bathroom when I walked in was all 4 walls. And then I feel like they took the bathroom mirrors out, the cheerleader and my bathroom mirror, to shoot like wide shots of us coming out of the stalls. And the wide shot I was okay on, but then the close-ups, and I only have one close-up that Wes Craven could really pull from, because when they were first doing they did lead the cheerleaders close-ups, and then when they were doing mine, Wes came into the bathroom and he goes, "Nancy Ann, you look grotesque." And I knew, he said, "It looks like you're playing to a Broadway theater of like 1,000 people." And I totally knew, I was dying laughing on the inside, but I totally knew not dying laughing, but I like a director being very blunt, and I knew exactly what he was talking about. And then he just kept saying, "Shave it, shave it, shave it." And just his kind of cheerleading off camera was really helpful, to just, as he kind of guided me through it. And then the thing, we got through that. And then the thing that technically that I found really challenging was when we were exiting the stalls, they didn't like how loud the bathroom door was bamming closed. And so they put a crew guy behind me straddling the toilet, and then a crew guy behind the cheerleader straddling her toilet, which meant there wasn't much, then there was barely any room for me. So I remember the crew guy holding me back by my little purple shirt so that I wouldn't make the door kind of wave open. So that was very unexpected. And so then when it was my turn to come out of the stall, he would let go, and then he would catch the door to kind of quietly shut it a little bit, or not make it be as loud of a bam. But what was then hard about that was they had the tape marks on the floor. And I thought that, like, you hit your mark. I didn't. So we hit our marks, but apparently the cheerleader and I kept leaning too far forward over the sink to put on our lipstick and makeup. So they put piece of plywood on my sink and the cheerleader's sink, such that if we leaned too far forward, it would hit our stomachs, and then we would know to kind of straighten up. And then they had dangling red tape from the ceiling, also as a visual cue not to lean forward. So I literally felt like I was in a straight jacket, because I didn't want to make any wrong moves. And so once we got through all of that, I remember, so another interviewer was asking, I feel like maybe we started shooting at noon, and I feel like we were done maybe by 7 p.m. that night. I'm making that up, but it didn't seem like we had tons and tons of takes. It just took, also because Nev Campbell wasn't there that day, they filmed her reaction shots to the gossiping girls on a different day. So once he had everything, he kept us through the weekend, which was fun, because just to be up there longer in case he needed any more pickup shots that Monday. But he got everything. And so we did stay through the weekend, and then flew home that Monday or Tuesday. Also, it was very exciting. I thought, oh Lord, who knows what he'll have to choose from from my little performance. But I was grateful we didn't end up on the cutting room floor, because they first invited us to a cast and crew screening, or once they had it initially edited. So I took a few friends, and I was like, okay, there's our scene. And because you never know in the end product what of yours is going to make it in, or if the scene gets cut. So we had the cast. Oh, before the cast and crew screening, we had the wrap party, and they flew me back up for the wrap party. And that was so fun, because then we were around all of the cast, and Leonora. Well, everyone seems to know. So I guess she and Skeet were living together as romantic partners. So she because she and Skeet were so close and Leonora had spent so much time up on the set, she was had become close with Courtney Cox and Nev and Matthew Lillard, all, the whole gang. So when I arrived to the wrap party, I came by myself, or I showed up by myself. I was with Julie, Wes's assistant, but I was just like, oh dear Lord, because I never, and obviously I don't get gaga over famous people, but it was just a funny experience at the time. But Leonora was like, come sit with us. And that was really exciting because I feel like there was a jazz band, and when the jazz band ended, David Arquette got up on stage and he was like emceeing, and I feel like Nev was doing like flamenco dancing. And the thing that made my jaw drop is Courtney Cox is a really good drummer, and there was a drum set
really?
on there from the band. And so she started I think she put her hair in a ponytail. And so when she finished drumming, I was like, you were amazing. And she was like, oh, I was really off my game tonight. I'm paraphrasing, but all of that was so fun. We all ended up, Wes, everyone, back at the DoubleTree Inn in a person's hotel room that just wasn't very big, like 2 double beds. So everyone was like kicking back on the double beds with their clothes on. But it was everyone, Wes, the crew, the cast, and like all packed in like sardines. And so that was really fun. I'm not a smoker, but I ended up with a pack of cigarettes, and Wes came over and he was like, can I have one? So just all of that was just so exciting. And then the next thing after that was the premiere. And that of course was really exciting and fun. And yeah, the whole experience to when it opened, the fact that it didn't even take them a year. I mean, it came out December 20th, 1996. So they had it shot and edited in less than 1 year. And then getting to see it go from the page to the final product, that was at the premiere, was super exciting. That was a very long answer to your Scream question.
No, see, it's things like this. This is what we love with guests. It's you know, I love hearing all about the ins and outs of how the movie was made. That's the whole point of doing this, right?
Oh,
Like,
good.
It's awesome. So it sounds like you had an incredibly positive experience with such a big production set. So what was obviously you've spoke about sort of your experiences with Nev and Courtney and David. So what was it really like, your experiences with Wes Craven?
Yeah, I meant to bring that up. He just, from the moment I met him as the little stand-in on that one audition day, he just is just a gentle soul, a warm smile, not what you would think of the big horror director. He just couldn't be nicer, and just what you see is what you get. And he I was about to say tender, but he just was really sweet and gentle with me. He knew I came from the professional theater, so he knew this was new for me, and just he just has a little twinkle in his eye. And I mean, my time, and no airs at all. No, I've worked with directors in the theater who will go crazy or be mad about something technical wise, and he didn't have any of those histrionics, not at least that I observed. And then what I heard from the main cast is they also said just very gentle and like a father figure to the main ensemble. But yeah, he just, as a first experience on a big movie like that, I guess I couldn't, he was the perfect director to get to work with, and just a really nice man. And that was why when he passed away, I was just so sad, because he just seemed so full of life. And I know, and healthy, you never know obviously what's going on the inside.
Yeah.
But I was really shocked by that, because it just seemed like he had so many years left to keep directing and telling stories. And but yeah, I was so taken with him, and just how kind he was to me was really special.
Yeah, see, that's beautiful. It's their kind of having those kind of memories to treasure is something that I think it seems to be quite widely a lot of people kind of sort of echo what you've said about him. I remember the day where it was kind of announced that it passed, and it was like truly just an entirely dark day. I just remember all the comments and the posts about him were just, it's just they said it's just sometimes you never know when it's time.
Right.
It's
And
but it's great that he left such a positive stamp on the whole industry and people.
yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to Julie, his assistant at the time, in a long time, but I always wonder, just because she's in LA and I'm going to be going back to New York, but I always wonder what that must have been like when she first heard the
Yeah,
news, just because she had such a close relationship with him, and working on Scream 2, 3, and 4. I can't imagine what that would have been like for her or his producing partner. And um, so when I heard about the new Scream, I thought, how can they make a new Scream without Wes Craven? And
yeah,
um, but yeah, I get, yeah, I just was sad because, I mean, when anyone passes away, you always think, oh wow, they had so much so much time left. But what he gave us in the time that he was here, what he gave the whole world with his films, I think is a real gift for
it's,
sure.
it I mean, there really isn't many bigger icons than Wes Craven in me. What he did for especially the horror industry, it's never going to be able to be replicated, and that's why stories like you've said is that's how I'd love for people to kind of hear about him, not just from the great movies he had, but the kind of person he was as well on
Yeah,
set.
he looked. If you ever look at at pictures that I know are available on Google, literally how he looks in the pictures in person is just who he is. I know he was a prankster. They did, what was fun was at the wrap party, the editors had cut together a whole blooper reel, and uh, that was amazing. I thought I wish they could release the blooper reel with um, like the DVD or whatever for audiences to see. But at one point, when Nev Campbell, when she's in her house at the beginning and she goes to open the coat closet door, and the Wes Craven has the music kind of build up to where you think the ghost face might be in there. When she opened it, Wes Craven was in there with the knife, and she jumps. So just fun things like that. The blooper reel was so funny, and then the fact that he had such a good sense of humor playing the custodian with the Freddy Krueger
Yeah,
sweater, um, when in that one line that he has with the principal. Um, but the blooper reel was hilarious. And then another neat thing that the editors did was they put 3 tribute reels together, one to Drew Barrymore, one to Henry Winkler, and one to Courtney Cox. So with Drew Barrymore's, they start at E.T., her early work, and then go to the present, kind of charting her whole career. And then the same with Henry Winkler and Courtney Cox. And it was just so, I didn't cry, but it was just so well done and beautiful. And I just, as I was watching the blooper reel, and then particularly the 3 tributes, I thought, I'm so grateful to get to see that. And the fact that the editors had done all of that with such care and creativity, I thought was really cool.
sounds incredible. Um, a question I have for you. I'm really interested as somebody that was on the movie. So, uh, what what was your opinion on the name change of the film?
Yeah, well, I'm so attached. I'm so attached. Whatever is presented to me in life, and I'm still like this, I'll get attached to it. So initially, I thought I loved the title, A Scary Movie, but also just because that's what was on the, the front page of the
Yeah.
script. And I just thought it fits so much. But when I heard about the title change, which I can't remember at the exact point I heard about the title change, at first I thought, oh, and then it kind of just, because the ghost face is inspired, I mean, that ghost face made by whichever novelty company makes it is inspired by that painting called Scream by Edvard Munch. Then I immediately thought it was great. I mean, I did like a scary movie, the title, but now looking back, I love that the title that they gave it was Scream. And then should have brought it down. They gave as one of the little cast gifts, a beautiful black pullover fleece. You call that a jumper, right? Like a sweatshirt or a sweater. I was married to an Australian, so we're not married anymore, but I know all the, but anyways, it was, it had the ghost face on the front, and then it said Scream on top of ghost face, and then a scary movie below. So I kind of, and that I got right away. So I kind of really loved that because it had at that time both titles. But yeah, next time it's a great little sweatshirt, and I'll show you another fan. Have you seen that book? It All Began with a Scream.
Wow, I haven't seen that book.
So I love the front cover.
Yeah.
A fan just mailed that to me. Because he was like, I feel badly I didn't talk to the girl in the cheerleader bathroom. I'm like, no, that's totally okay. But he talks about the making of the first Scream, and then he goes on to Scream 2, 3, and 4. But it was a lot of it I knew about the first Scream, but stuff I didn't know. So it's really well done if people, it all began with the Scream. So, but yeah, he just sent it. But yeah, it just and now, did you tell me if you all heard? Because I feel like the fans and friends know way more than I do. I feel like, and you could tell me that the Wayans, so the movie that ended up having a scary movie title, that the Wayans brothers, those films they made, I feel like
the parodies.
Yeah, that they maybe paid Kevin Williamson to use his title. I could be totally wrong, so I don't know. I don't know why I'm throwing things out there that I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different theories about it, but to me, that seems sort of the more logical sense. I can't imagine they could have just freely used it, but I think that's probably what I imagine would have happened.
I do, when you were asking, I do think it kind of ended up working well for our film to be Scream, and then I thought the parody films called a scary movie. I thought it ended up working nicely. What about you? What title what was of the two titles, what did you like?
Well, funnily enough, it was when I first watched the movie. I watched it quite a few years after it came out. I had no idea there was a name change. I never knew about it. And then when I sort of discovered it, I kind of tried to look at both. Because I always associated it as Scream, that I kind of attached myself to that a bit like yourself with a scary movie. Yeah. But I kind of think it's worked out really well for how it is now.
Yeah, exactly. And just all this, the Scream Queens, Neve Campbell, Drew Barrymore. I mean, it is such a screamer movie, especially with that opening scene with Drew Barrymore, and then throughout the film. So it kind of seems like kismet that Scream title got used instead.
So whilst you were either the movie was in production or even just after as it came out, did you always know that it would have blown up to be the size it has been now?
I guess not to, I'm not surprised that it blew up to what it is now. I do remember in my teeny little apartment with my roommate in the valley, I had a little twin bed, and I remember reading it on my bed. And I'd only at that point read plays for the theater. So this was my first movie script to read. And it was, of course, a real page turner. That first scene, I was just like, oh, dear Lord. Because I can't remember if I knew when I read it. I certainly didn't know who was playing, had been cast as Sydney. I don't know if I knew that Drew Barrymore had been cast as Casey. So I don't remember that, but I remember reading the script and just thinking, I've never read anything like this. It's so innovative. It's so smart and clever. And I just was amazed by it. So I immediately thought, oh, I can't wait to see how Wes Craven puts this together. So I wasn't, I guess I was surprised initially that they were releasing it December 20th during the holidays. So at first I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then the fact that the word of mouth, that it just spread and was like a runaway train. I really can't say I'm surprised. I just was really excited. But I remember going to the premiere, taking a different friend to the premiere, and he was just screaming bloody murder, which was making you, like, people who hadn't already seen it were gasping. So I felt like the roller coaster ride of emotion and reaction was very visceral from the premiere. So I wasn't surprised. What more than I'm surprised about is that there's a huge fan base for The Girl in Bathroom. Now that I'm very surprised, because so many years, like when Scream 2, I saw Scream 2, 3 and 4 I didn't see. And occasionally a fan would say, oh, we wish you and the cheerleader are still alive. We want them to bring you back. So there would be occasional message that would come through Facebook. But at the time, my ex-husband was physically abusive. And so that my marriage was during a chunk of time when 3 and 4 came out. So I was pretty disconnected from everything. When the fourth one came out, was that 2011, the fourth one?
Yeah.
Okay. The Biography channel reached out to me, and they were doing an hour-long behind the scenes of the making of Scream, and the documentary guy said, we want to use the bathroom scene. So they were asking if I gave approval, and then the cheerleader, and I was like, sure. So we weren't in the actual interview. Those were Wes Craven and Nev, but it was really well. They sent a DVD, but then all my stuff went into storage. But I finally, a few years ago, watched it on YouTube. So the avalanche of interest, a booking agent reached out to me this past summer asking if I would want to do conventions. And I knew about Comic-Con. I didn't know that there were horror film conventions, but I was all in. I said yes. I really was incredulous that there would be a fan base for The Girl in Bathroom. I knew the bathroom scene was enjoyed, and of course Leonora as the cheerleader and all the deranged stuff that she's saying, and my little reactions. But I really was surprised that there was this fan base that my original booking agent was telling me about. And then immediately when that phone call came in, then all these horror film Facebook groups that my agent at the time was in, they just started reaching out. And my little Facebook number, I'm not a big social media person, so I don't count my friends, but my Facebook friends went from like 800 to now I'm over 3,000, maybe 3,400 in like the span of time from like August to now. And the fan questions are so fun and interesting. Like, they want to know, did I get to keep my costume? Did I give the girl in bathroom a name? And then one of the fans said, I named her Stacy from the moment I saw the film. This fan was like, I gave her the name Stacy. And I was like, Stacy it is. A caricature cartoon artist drew in vibrant color the most hilarious caricatures of me as the girl in bathroom and Leonora in the green berets and the purple sweater. And he made my mole so huge. I mean, I literally do look grotesque, but they're hilarious. And he put little caption bubbles with a couple of our lines in the little caption bubble. So just all of that interest and attention. And I just started, I'm with the new agent now, and so far I've been confirmed for 3 conventions for 2022. And then the agents working on getting me booked for a few other conventions. And sometimes the convention owners will just contact me directly, and then I'll send them, have them call my agent. And so I'm really excited about that. So far my first one, there may be one in March. So far, the first confirmed one is April 30th and May 1st. And it's called 4 State, like the number 4 State Comic-Con in Maryland. And so that'll be a 2-day event. And some fans were saying it would be so fun. I don't know if Leonora wants to do the conventions, but I know it would, for the fans, it would be so fun to have both the bathroom girls. And then some fans were saying it'd be so fun if you could wear your girl in bathroom costume and Leonora in the cheerleader costume so that fans could take pictures. I didn't keep the costume because I had no idea that there would be fan interest, but it would be easier to buy. It would be easy to buy high-waisted khaki pants. And but yeah, after talking to my agent, he's made me so excited. He also will set up private signings for me to do, just that are separate things from the convention. So I've never been to a convention of any sort.
Wow.
So I'm super excited. And the agent said, do you have your passport? And I said, yes. And he said he's got conventions that he sends his clients to in Germany, Japan, the UK. So I just didn't know this world existed. And so that is a long answer. I wasn't surprised that Scream became what it was, but I am surprised, like I said, that the fan base is so wonderful that even the girl in the bathroom means something to people. I was excited when I first got contacted. Early, some fans were saying that they really identified with the scene, that different fans had been bullied in high school, like what Neve Campbell was experiencing, hearing the bad things that we're saying about her, so that they could really identify with what poor Neve Campbell was going through while in high school, and all the pranksters running around with the mask, and then of course the real killer running around, and ultimately the 2 killers. But that it resonated on a deeper level with people, I thought was really fun to find out. And that the lines that people always say they love the bubble butt boyfriend line, and then of course the cheerleaders just maniacal little monologue that she gives about teen suicide is out this year and all of that. The dialogue is so good in that scene. So I'm glad I'm glad comedically that people enjoy it. And then on a deeper level, I was going to ask you, have you seen the new one yet?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm planning. I have to go and see it at some point this coming week. That's like my one goal next week.
I would have, excuse me. I would have gone. So I'm living right now with my parents just outside of Washington, D.C., and they're 82 and 84. And that's because of the bad marriage, getting rid of my husband. I was really struggling. So I'm 4 hours south of New York. But I'd been in New York for 12 years. But when it opened here on January 14th, that was my mom's birthday. And if COVID weren't here, I would have loved to have taken my mom and dad, even though they would have been as scared as they were, like peering through their hands. But I didn't. I was too nervous to take them to the movie theater. If I were still living in New York when it came out, I would have totally gone with my friends, and because to see it in the movie theater would be, of course, such a fun adventure, just watching it in real time with the audience.
Yeah, of course.
But they have, well, I made a friend just give me all the spoilers, which I won't say, but some fans have said, we think we figured out a way that the girl in bathroom could come back in Scream 6. And so it's been fun to hear different theories. And so one young fan was telling me his theory, and I was like, well, why don't you write Kevin Williamson on Instagram and just send him a message of your little idea? And so, yeah, it's been, like I said, just a whole new world. And I have to admit, the only Wes Craven film I had seen before Scream was Vampire in Brooklyn a year prior, because a friend of mine from Duke Ellington School of the Arts, my performing arts high school, she played. So there was Angela Bassett, and Simbi is my friend, and I'll have to look another time. She played like the second female. She had a supporting part in the movie. So I had seen that one, and because Julie also had invited me. But I'm so excited to now dive into all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, The Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes. So I'm a total horror virgin, just because I was always too afraid. I always thought what's happening to these females in the movies would happen to me. Yeah. So I think prior to Scream, I'd seen one of the Pet Cemeteries. I'd seen Psycho with Anthony Perkins. And I finally recently forced myself to watch Halloween. And that scared the tar out of me because he's just it's Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Because he's just out in the middle of the day in this suburb. I was like, this is terrifying. And then I watched the second one, and I went in 2018 to see, so I haven't seen the most recent one, but I went to the 2018. So and I haven't seen Friday the 13th. So I'm really excited to just dive in, and I know I can handle it. I know I can handle them now that I'm older. I know I'll still be afraid, but just getting to know the fans, and the fans speak so highly of all of Wes's other films, and then just all the other films in the genre. Have you seen probably every horror film known to man?
I honestly, I couldn't tell you the amount of horror movies I've seen. I've been a big fan. It's I think, funnily enough, the first Scream movie was, if it wasn't the first, it certainly was one of the first ever horror movies I'd seen. So I kind of, all the stuff before that, I kind of got into a bit later on. But yeah, Wes Craven's horror movies are just, nobody makes them like him. It's a great journey.
I'm really excited to see. So one fan and friend of mine suggested starting with The Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, and then go to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
I'm curious how old, you don't have to tell me, but I was curious how old, you must have been so young in 1996 when Scream came out. You don't have to tell me.
No, I was 2.
You were 2, oh my gosh. You were 2, okay, I was 22. I turned 23. Oh, Lord, you were 2. So do you remember what age you were when you finally saw it?
Oh, I was probably about 9. So I saw it in like early 2000s. So I totally missed like all the sort of when it came out and all the hype around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was certainly one of the first. I remember my mum was the one that actually showed me the movie. Because my mum is a big horror fan. So yeah, it was the early 2000s. I saw the movie, hooked
And
me.
you were about 9. Were you scared? Were you able to watch it, or did you peer on the scary moments through your hands? Or
I was. Well, funnily enough, for Scream, because it was like it was a slasher. Oh, I was petrified. I just remember thinking every time I went to bed, like it's gonna happen to me
yeah,
now. It's gonna happen.
tonight's the night.
Yeah.
Um,
But that for sure has cemented this love I have for the whole genre, for sure.
and did your mom? I love that your mom is a big horror
Yeah.
film uh, connoisseur. So did she introduce you to all the other horror films,
Yeah, she
like the night?
yeah,
Like
she
yeah,
she introduced me to like the classics. And
yeah,
then I've kind of keeping her up to date with sort of the newer stuff that comes out.
yeah.
But yeah, it's great. It's quite cool to have, like I said, to have somebody to share the experiences with.
I was curious, there's a Facebook group called the UK horror scene that I have an interview with them next Friday. Matthew Barnett runs that little group. Do you know, are you familiar with the UK horror
I
scene, or are there so many
There's
different horror
so
groups?
many groups. There are so many groups. I could double check with you after the interview on that, 'cause there are so many groups. You kind of, once you sort of like a group, you get recommended to about 10 others. Um,
Okay.
but it's the horror scene in the UK is huge. I've never seen so many fans of so many different generations. So it's growing.
Have you gone to any of the conventions there in the UK?
Yeah, so that's how it
Okay.
all started for me. I used to attend conventions, like 3 or 4 of them a year. Um, yeah, you are in for a complete whirlwind of an experience with fans.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and yeah, I just this whole world, I yeah, like I was saying, we didn't know how old were you when you went to your first convention? You maybe
16, I think.
16. Oh
Yeah,
my
about
gosh.
16. Yeah, so about
That's
11 years ago. I think.
um and what's the name of your town where you in London? What's the name of your little
Uh,
neighborhood where you are?
so the county I live in is Hertfordshire. So it's
Okay.
just outside of North London, but I can be in central London in about 20 minutes, and that's where all the big local ones are for me.
Okay. Um uh well, I'm so excited to get to meet you, and it's so fun. I always love finally being it. Well, I had seen your interview, so I knew what you look like, but it's so fun to like get to talk to you in person. And I love your uh are these album, oh yeah, Purple Rain album covers
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
you?
So there are some vinyls. It was just added something a bit different in the background. I need to
No,
get
I
one for
love it.
movies though, I think, as well.
No, I love it's very pleasing. I always get sad though when the interview's over, because you're so cool and nice. Everyone's been so fun to to get to talk to. Uh, some of the interviewers say that they go to a lot of conventions here in the United States, or so I might see some of them there. But hope it would be so if I find out about anything in the UK that my agent would send me on, I'll send you a message.
Oh, you have to. You have to. You definitely have to come to the UK at some point. It'd be so cool to meet you face to face.
I would love it. I've never been. The only my ex-husband is there now in London. Um, I don't know where, but the only overseas travel I ever did was to Australia with him a few times. So I'm dying to go to the UK and run around London and just all of Europe and but yeah, if I ever hopefully with the convention, but yeah, if and when I get there, it'd be fun to now. Do you call it I know in Ireland they call it a pint. Do you all call it a
Yeah,
pint?
we call it a pint. Yeah.
But that would be so fun. I'm so excited to get to talk to you.
It's truly a pleasure to talk to you, and you know, it's still surreal for me to be able to speak to people like you and to tell your stories, and like how sort of your such positive energy come from you. And you know, things that I've always liked about these interviews is I always hope that people kind of get inspired to do the things that they love to do. And you are very, very inspiring person.
Well, good. Well, I hope so. And I did want to say, I am going to go because I'm embarrassed. My film and TV credits are so they're only like 5 in there, but I am going to move back to New York within the year, and I definitely will get back into my acting with theater, film, and TV. And now that the husband is gone, I'm excited um, to get back into it. New York's a great place. Pre my marriage, I was auditioning for great movies and TV and Broadway, and so I'm excited to jump back into it. And if ever I have something exciting that I'm doing, I'll send you a message to let you
Oh,
know.
please, that'll be amazing. You have to keep me updated. I'm really excited to see I'm really excited to see what you do for the future. I think hold your oyster. You could do whatever you want to do,
Right.
and
I
and, yeah,
there oh there was a fan who wanted to do a fan film with me and the cheerleader, but uh, a good friend in the horror film world recommended not doing a fan film because uh, the friend was saying if they want to bring you back for Scream 6 or 7, it would be more fun to then only see the bathroom girls in the actual
mhm.
film series than in a fan film. So I thought that was great advice because I was like, oh, sure, I'll do a fan film. And
Mhm.
the idea that this guy had was a fun idea, but I was glad that this friend recommended not doing it in case they ever bring the bathroom girls back to keep it exciting, I guess, for the fans. So I'll let you know if we ever get invited. If we ever,
No,
when
that's
you see the new Scream, tell me if you see or write to me and see. I'll tell you what some of the fans have said of their theory about maybe how the girl in bathroom could come back based on the new Scream.
absolutely. I think that's something we're gonna have to push. We're gonna have to push for when Scream 6 is in production. We're gonna have to push for the bathroom girls to come back into Scream 6 for sure.
I thought I was talking to someone, I did think it would be funny if the cheerleader was still in her cheerleading uniform and I was still in my my same outfit, so that if we came back, people would be like, "Oh, they're the bathroom girls." Um, but there was something. Well, I'm so excited to get to talk to you, and yeah, I'm sad. I'll be sad when we say goodbye because you made this so nice and fun and a really nice time. So thank you.